What is a live boot? If you have installed a Linux distribution on bare metal before, you've most likely booted into it. The live booting is when you are able to boot directly into a Linux distribution that's being housed on a USB drive. It's also known as live USB. For most distributions, this allows you to try it out before you actually install it, which is pretty cool. There are even distributions that you can install and use directly from a USB drive, such as Slacks Linux, Kali Linux, and Tails OS. I was thinking about these distributions the other day, and it got me thinking, how do I do a live boot into a virtual machine in KVM? Well, that's what I'm going to show you today. This is B from Tay Talk Tech, and today I'm going to show you how to live boot into a virtual machine in KVM, so stick around. I have a favor to ask. If you like this type of video and want to see more content like it, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell button for notifications. Also, don't forget to give this video a like if you like it. Let me know what you liked, didn't like, or if you have any comments, questions, concerns, or emotional outburst down in the comment section below. And lastly, stick around all the way to the end to get the most out of this video. Let's do this thing. So let's go ahead and kind of just talk a little bit about live boot. So this is something that I'm being able to see how useful this can actually be to have laying around. You know, whether that be in the form of a USB drive or actually having a virtual machine that is a live boot that I can just easily just throw away and have it boot into a new instance. So the other day, I was trying to increase the root partition of a virtual machine because I had increased the disk size, and I was having some trouble. And there was a couple of different methods that I could do, but I was familiar with the tool gparted, but I was like, well, that's something you usually run from a USB, and I was like, can I do that from a KVM virtual machine? And it turned out that I could, and that's what prompted me actually making this video. You know, having these throwaway machines, you know, they have lots of different things that you can do with them. You know, it can help you test particular features, applications of a specific distro. You know, if you want to kind of do like maybe like a rough, you know, run through, you know, test drive and all that stuff. It can also help with storage because, you know, yeah, Ubuntu's ISO image is pretty large, but not all of them are like that. So some of them are less than a gigabyte, and you know, housing, you know, 1 gigabyte versus like, you know, the 5 to 6, 10, 12, 15 that a full-on operating system install would consume could be preferred. You know, maybe you're on a system with a small hard drive, you know, so that could be something that you are concerned with. Now, one of the things that you'll want to keep in mind when using this method is if you run distributions directly this way, it's not going to save anything. And also, not all features may be available, so just be mindful of that. So let's go ahead and get into setting up the live boot only virtual machine. I'm going to go ahead and shrink my face down here. And the first thing you're going to notice is that we're on a download page for Ubuntu Desktop 24.04. And the reason that we're here is because we want to go ahead and get the link to the ISO image for Ubuntu. I'm using Ubuntu for this particular demonstration, but it is not required that you actually use Ubuntu. You can use any distribution that you want. I'm going to go ahead and make sure to leave a link to Ubuntu down in the description below so that you have that there if you want to go ahead and use it. But again, use any Linux distribution that you choose. So what you're going to do when you go to that ISO download page is you're going to come over here where, you know, or, you know, on whatever one it is and the link to it, you're going to right click and you're going to hit copy link, because we're actually going to use a command to be able to go ahead and take this directly from the Ubuntu or Canonical website and then move it to the directory that we want it to on our host system. So let's go ahead and do that here. All right, we're going to come in here into my test server. The test server that I'm using for this video is the one I've been using for a while, which uses Linux Mint 21.2. All right, so the command that we're going to run to start things off to get that ISO image is we're going to use the wget command with sudo privileges, because we're going to be saving it in a privileged location. So now, one of the things that you'll notice is that actually two things you'll probably notice here is that if you go through var, lib, libvirt, those are all kind of default locations for KVM. Now, if you look in the libvirt folder, you won't see one that says ISO. Now, the reason that is because I put that in there because I like to have a folder separate for my ISOs so that I can keep those organized and then reference back to them when I want to set up a new virtual machine. So once we're using this wget command with the TAC capital O option because that's going to allow us to specify the output file and location. And that's what we're doing here. And then what you'll do is you'll just do a space and then you'll go ahead and paste in the actual link to the distribution ISO like so. Now I'm not going to be inputting and executing that here. Well, I've already inputted, but I'm not going to be executing it here because I already have the ISO image saved and I don't need to do it again, and that'll help kind of expedite this video a bit. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. Now let me go ahead and get up the command for actually setting up this virtual machine. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to use sudo privileges with the virt install command, and these with these two tacs or whatever you want to call them, those are actually the options that we're setting. So we're going to set a few different options here. We're going to set the name option. We're going to call it Ubuntu Live. Call yours whatever you want. We're going to do the memory option with 4096, set up 4 gigabytes of RAM. We're going to do vCPU option with 2, so we set it with 2 cores. We're going to use the disk option and set that to none because we don't need a disk for this. We're going to do the live CD option because we want to live boot into this virtual machine. We're going to go ahead and set graphics to VNC. Now, one thing that I do want to let you know is that you will need a VNC client to be able to go ahead and do this. I just use VNC Viewer, which is pretty much available on all operating systems. Now, it's not open source or anything like that. If I remember correctly, it might be, but I don't remember. It's been a while since I actually looked at the details of it. But I'm going to go ahead and put that down in the description below as well, so you can use that client. But also keep in mind that you can use any VNC viewer of your choice. Now, the other thing that we're going to specify here is the OS info. We're going to set that as Ubuntu 24.04. If you're running a Red Hat-based distribution, this will be OS TAC variant versus OS info. So OS TAC and the word variant, and then Ubuntu 24.04. Then we're going to go ahead and set the CD-ROM location to the location that we specified in the wget command. And this is going to allow it to basically do just as it would if you were doing a live boot from the USB drive. So let's go ahead and execute this command. I gotta put in my password. All right, and it's starting the install, and it even gives us directions. It says, hey, domain is still running. Installation may progress, waiting for installation to complete. So, and that's because we actually need to go ahead and go out to VNC Viewer, which I've got over here. And we're going to go ahead and specify this one right here. Let me give us this little warning message. All right, there we go. It's going to go through all the regular prompts. Sorry, this is a little small. It's going to blow up there. Here we go. Let's just blow that up. And this part can take a little bit of time. So just be patient with it. There we go. And preparing Ubuntu. And honestly, I don't really go into vanilla Ubuntu very often just because I really don't like the GNOME desktop. I know other people do, but I don't. Yeah, see, here you go. And it's allowing us to take it through all of this stuff. We can go ahead and go through the actual install wizard, but if we want to go ahead and just cancel that out, we can do that and we can still use it. See, we've got all of our options here. Files, we've got internet, we've got anything that you could possibly need to be able to go ahead and, you know, utilize the Ubuntu system. So, yeah. So not only is KVM cool, but So is live booting. Windows doesn't easily let you do that. Now, there are methods for doing it in Windows, and if you really want to torture me and want me to make a video about it, let me know down in the comments below. That's something I'd be definitely open to exploring. I really do love virtualization. There's just really so much that you can do with it, and it's just such a presence in our world, especially with the whole cloud explosion that's been happening in the most recent few years. So it's just something that I really care a lot about. Make sure to check out the other videos in my virtualization playlist. There's a lot of good stuff in there. If you're caught up, check out this other video instead. Remember, mistakes make you better, so keep on making them. Thank you so much for watching my video, and have the greatest of days.